In the past few months, the UK has been grappling with a disturbing trend as extremist groups have become increasingly visible on the streets. These groups, often clad in black and hiding their identities behind masks, have been pushing divisive ideologies that aim to fracture the fabric of society. This phenomenon isn't just a fringe issue. It's caused widespread alarm and concern, crossing political lines and uniting people from different backgrounds in their condemnation of these actions. But what's happening here goes beyond the usual narrative of extremist groups. Their presence on the streets, brazenly marching and making a spectacle of their hateful beliefs, signals a significant escalation in their activities. It's not just about spreading propaganda online or in isolated circles. These groups are now making a public show of their defiance against societal norms. By doing so, they're not just targeting minorities with their messages of hate, but they're also creating a climate of fear and suspicion that affects everyone.
Show force, yeah? This is enough! This is enough! We're anti-protest! Yeah! Protest!
This shift is particularly concerning because it suggests that these extremist ideologies are becoming more emboldened. They're no longer content with remaining in the shadows. They're stepping out into the public eye, challenging the very foundations of a diverse and inclusive society. Their actions are designed to provoke, to incite, and to create divisions that run deep within communities. The reaction to this rise in extremism has been swift, but it's also revealed a troubling divide in how society responds. While many people, regardless of their political leanings, have expressed outrage and called for action, there's also been a noticeable reluctance in some quarters to fully confront the issue. This hesitance can stem from a variety of reasons, ranging from fear of escalating tensions to the complexity of addressing such deeply ingrained ideologies.
This is enough! This is enough! This is enough! If they were never here, Ajabo, when was the come? We're not going around causing Allah here, there, and everywhere. Like the police have said, there's kids here, there's families here, they don't need to be intimidated. We're here to represent, and that's all we're doing.
However, the visible presence of these extremist groups underscores an urgent need for a collective response. It's not enough to simply condemn their actions. There needs to be a concerted effort to address the root causes of extremism, to counter the narratives that these groups are spreading, and to protect the communities that are being targeted. This involves not just law enforcement, but also educators, community leaders, and everyday citizens who must work together to foster a culture of inclusion and mutual respect. The rise of these groups in the UK is not an isolated incident. It mirrors a global trend where extremist ideologies are gaining traction in various parts of the world. This makes it all the more crucial to tackle the issue head-on before it can further entrench itself and cause even more harm.
You're here to protect.
You know, when we talk about why people get pulled into these extremist groups, it's never just one thing. There's a mix of reasons, and it's often pretty complicated. Some folks feel left behind by society. Maybe they're struggling to find work, or they feel like their lives lack meaning or direction. Others might be influenced by certain ideologies, almost like they've been brainwashed. It's a tough spot to be in, because when people feel disconnected or hopeless, they're more vulnerable. And these extremist groups, well, they know exactly how to exploit that. They offer these people a twisted sense of identity and belonging, making them feel like they're part of something bigger, even though it's toxic and harmful. Now imagine seeing these extremists marching through the streets of the UK, their faces covered, all dressed in black. It's a jarring sight, right? And it's not just the imagery that's disturbing, it's what they stand for. These groups aren't just out for a stroll, they're pushing messages of hate, division, and violence. They're targeting minorities, stirring up fear, and trying to pit people against each other. It's no wonder that so many people are outraged.
That's what we're protesting for! We're anti-protest! You're here anti-protest!
The response from the public has been pretty strong. Civic leaders, activists, and everyday folks are all speaking out, making it clear that this kind of behavior isn't acceptable. They're saying, this isn't who we are. And that's crucial because when these extremists come out into the open, It's a test of what we, as a society, stand for. People haven't just been talking about it, though. In a lot of places, local communities have organized counter-protests. They're getting together to show that the extremists' views are a far cry from what the broader society believes. These counter-protests are more than just a show of opposition. They're a powerful reminder that the UK is built on values like diversity, tolerance, and mutual respect. It's about showing that, despite the noise these extremists make, they don't represent the majority of us.
Unacceptable.
That includes offences such as minor sex crimes, violence, and possession of weapons such.
You know, the vast majority of citizens want nothing to do with their hateful ideologies. And it's not just a passive rejection. People are actively coming together to show that they're committed to building an inclusive society. It's been heartening to see so many folks rallying, not just in protest against these groups, but in support of the values that really matter: inclusivity, respect, and unity. We can't talk about this without mentioning the media's role. The way the media covers extremism plays a huge part in how the public perceives it. Sometimes, the sensationalist approach can actually end up giving these groups more attention than they deserve, almost like it's unintentionally amplifying their message. But that's not the whole story. There are plenty of journalists and media outlets out there doing the important work of countering these narratives. They're shining a light on stories of resilience and community solidarity, and they're giving a voice to those who are standing up against hate. Social media, though, that's where things get really tricky. On one hand, these platforms can be a breeding ground for spreading extremist content and recruiting new members. But on the other hand, they also offer a space for people to push back, to share counter-narratives, and to mobilize against hate. It's kind of a double-edged sword. Efforts are being made to crack down on the spread of these dangerous ideologies online, but it's not easy. The algorithms that drive social media tend to prioritize sensational content, and that often means extremist rhetoric gets more visibility, feeding into this cycle of division and conflict.
They are supposedly here to peacefully demonstrate against the rape of women and children by Muslim gangs. But it doesn't turn out to be peaceful.
All of this raises some big questions for the UK government. How do you effectively combat extremism without compromising democratic values? It's a tough balancing act. What's clear is that a one-size-fits-all approach isn't going to cut it. We need a strategy that covers all the bases: law enforcement, community engagement, and education. When it comes to law enforcement, it's not just about monitoring these groups and cracking down when necessary, although that's certainly part of it. It's also about building trust and cooperation with communities. The police can't do this alone. They need to work hand in hand with local leaders to address the underlying issues that can drive people towards extremism in the first place. This approach has to be both firm and fair. Otherwise, it risks alienating the very people they're trying to protect. Education is another critical piece of the puzzle. It's about more than just teaching kids facts and figures. Schools need to be places where young people learn to think critically, to empathize with others, and to value diversity. If we can help kids understand these concepts early on, they're much less likely to be swayed by extremist ideologies later in life. And let's be honest, the root causes of disenfranchisement and alienation often start young. Addressing these issues in schools can go a long way towards preventing the kind of disillusionment that leads people down the wrong path. As the UK faces the growing threat of extremist groups, staying vigilant and proactive is more important than ever. But this isn't just a job for the government or the police, it's something we all have to take part in. Civic organizations, religious groups, community leaders, everyone needs to come together to create a united front against hate. We need to foster open dialogue, especially with those who might be drawn to these extremist ideologies. Sometimes just talking things out, engaging in constructive conversations, can help dismantle the harmful narratives that these groups thrive on. It's about promoting understanding and empathy. If we can create an environment where people feel understood and valued, then extremism has no fertile ground to grow in. The sight of extremists parading through our streets is a stark reminder of the challenges we face in this increasingly polarized world. But it's also an opportunity. By standing together against hate and division, we can reinforce the values that define our nation. Values like respect, tolerance, and solidarity. As citizens, it's our responsibility to challenge extremist ideologies whenever they rear their ugly heads. We need to support initiatives that promote inclusivity and understanding. This fight against extremism isn't a one-time thing. It's an ongoing battle that requires constant vigilance and commitment. But if we all do our part, we can ensure that the streets of the UK remain a place where diversity is celebrated and where every voice is heard. In doing so, we're not just protecting our communities from the immediate threat of extremism. We're also making a broader statement about the kind of society we want to build. A society that's fairer, more equitable, and better for everyone, now and in the future. So what do you think? The growth of these extreme organizations is a significant issue, but one that we can address collectively. If you found this video useful, please like and share it with your friends. And if you're new here, click the subscribe button and ring the bell to ensure you never miss an update. We need to keep educated and connected. Together, we can make a difference. Please share your opinions in the comments section below. And as always, thanks for watching. Stay safe and strong, and I will see you in the next one.